Good evening, and yes, I am excited. Welcome to another week with Vivacious Speaks, the new American Revolution, except that we are Moments with Vivacious on Wednesday nights, right? This is where we share our moments together. And tonight we're preparing. We're a little bit behind, but we're preparing to talk with Doug Hodge. Um, a, a man of much wisdom, and he brings things in all of the turmoil that we're in. And let me just say this about the turmoil first. Um it's hard to believe that some people want to go on and act like I'm not paying no attention to that. Yeah, nah. This is a very crucial time where we must be revolutionized to save ourselves. Nobody's going to save us. It's going to be our own voice. It's going to be our own voice. And if our picketing our protesting, we used to say picketing back in the 60s and 70s, must stop the vote. Good night. Nola says good night. Barbara's with us. Doug is preparing to be with us, and he brings just new insight. He brings a foundation where we can say, well, wait, it draws a bigger picture. It just draws a bigger picture for us to see. So we're going to go ahead and do our intro. Welcome, call your friends. We'll be talking to Doug in just a moment. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious, a freedom ride where we the people gather to build ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. For the sound of America for Progress has reached critical mass. Understanding that we must put aside our differences to focus on the greater good. This is a place of collaboration to rebuild and restore our nation. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious. Okay, coming on that one. Hey y'all. Well, we're waiting for Doug to come in. It's gonna be just a moment. I hope your days were good. I don't know what this big parade is gonna come to on Saturday, and it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that it was the weekend of Juneteenth. I believe it was deliberate. I believe it was deliberate that it was done on Juneteenth. I believe that it was deliberate. So, okay, Doug is back with us. All right, how are you, Doug?
I'm doing well, Val. Let me ask one question. Can you hear me? Can you turn your volume up?
I turned, Kenzie, can we hear him on screen? Mackenzie. Kristen or Barbara, can we hear Doug Hodge? Can y'all? Mackenzie. They said yes, they can hear you, Doug.
Okay, fine.
How are you this evening?
You know, I'm fantastic, and it's my pleasure, Val, to be on your show.
Well, we were talking about, we wanted to hear your voice. I thought it would be good for us to hear your voice, to hear what you, to bring some different perspective, to bring a different outlook from what we know to see. I know to see from since I've been here. I think I think I'm the I don't know what to say about me, but I think I'm cool, and know it all and run it all. But tell us a little bit about you. Introduce yourself to the audience, please, and tell us what you. I think we want to talk about ourselves first of all, as Black people in America, and what we're going through now.
Well, let me first say that again, it's my pleasure. I consider myself a historian, but more than that, I've experienced a lot of white America as well as Black America over the years, and there's never been a plan to help our community, period.
So that means we got to do something to help ourselves, right?
Yeah, well, one of the things, a couple of things, we spend as a community, we spend almost $2 trillion a year, yet we own nothing. We own nothing. We can go out any given night of the week and go to a fairly decent restaurant and see that place filled with Black folk, but the ownership is white. We shouldn't have to do that. We have enough expertise, enough money to be able to just go out here and be grown people and do exactly what we need to be. We shouldn't have a problem in our schools, healthcare, because again, we spend $2 trillion. Every Black man and woman in this country can be fed and educated with that.
And when you look at the health profession, we take up a great number. We take a great number. We take a great number of us are medical professionals.
Yes.
So but again, we don't own any hospitals. We've allowed it all to become big business, large corporations. So with large corporations, our healthcare is not the first and foremost in getting done.
Yes. Back in the day, I'm a little older than you all. Back in the day, we had our own shops, our own restaurants, and many places in the South had their own Black hospitals. The European folk, the white folk that live in this country, they never, ever had the thought of us being anything but subservient to slavery and beyond slavery. They saw us as second-class people, and so many of us act as if we're second-class citizens, and that is on us. I mentioned to you earlier, the population of this world is about 7 billion people. 85% of those people are Black, brown, and yellow. The white folk make up 15% of this world. And that's why they are trying to manage everything that's out here, from military to technology, because they know that 50% at one point won't make it. Our people, brown, Black, yellow, will one day figure it out that we're here, we've been here for millions of years, and that we have everything that is needed to succeed.
I want to talk a little bit about we were talking about history this morning and the history of war world war. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes. From the day I was born, we had just come out of the Second World War. From that day to this day, America has only gone to war against people of color. Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq. And for me, the purpose of that is to eliminate as many young people that are non-white, because those are the people that go to war, ages 17 to 28. And these wars eliminate all these non-white folk around the world that America particularly goes to war against.
So, with that being said, we also had this discussion earlier. Hello, son-in-law. Did y'all know I was the most beautiful mother-in-law in the universe? Did y'all know that? But to talk about that, we were talking about the atmosphere of war, and this is the way I feel, but you felt different. The atmosphere of war that's being set up in America today. It's almost like we are setting up a revolution in our own, a civil revolution, another civil war. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm going to go back to Malcolm. I'm going to go back to the Black Panthers. Those folks, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, they had an idea that it was time for black folk to take up arms. And it wasn't a bad idea. The difference was we were outnumbered, we were outgunned. And what these people do, this is what these people do to people that they feel are trying to make a change. Martin was assassinated, Medgar Evers assassinated, Martin, President JFK, his brother Bobby, who was getting ready to run for president. These were people who saw changes and knew that this country needed changes. They were all assassinated. That's what these folks do.
But at this point, we don't have a central leader. So it's not going to be so easy in my way of thinking. It's not going to be so easy for them to assassinate our leader or to get to our main power because we are so disseminated. And if we do have a unified voice somewhere, someone there, they're definitely keeping that underground, undertoned, or whatever the word I want to say.
Yeah. The one thing that always helped them understand our plans were the dollar bill. They had no problem going into communities, giving people money. Tell us what's going on in this neighborhood. Tell us who you think the leaders are. And this country is based on the dollar bill. And black folks have always felt, I think I can say, that was the most important thing in the world. So that's how they get our people.
And unfortunately, it was twice. Once in high school, we that was when schools was first being integrated, and we wanted a black band, and we wanted black officers. So I went around leading. My girlfriend Yolanda joined, and we told them, look, we had our own election. We had our own election and private, and then we nominated 3 or 4 of other people to run so we could so we had an all black student council. That way we were sure to have a black band for prom.
Yes.
The nuns didn't even have to pay them. They just told it was us. And when we went to the NAACP, they just told it's Valine leading us to the NAACP. When I was in nursing and they started bringing in all of the white RNs, right? We were the black nurses. We ran the floor. We were LPNs. We are more skilled because that's what practical means. We are taught in practice. So we practice nursing where they are the more in authority, more running the place. They don't learn nursing like we learn nursing.
Yes.
So they came in, we would have 3 ventilators. 3 children probably needed to be on ventilators. You working all day, saving their lives, and maybe 2 stable. And we did that for years. So then all of these white nurses, because white people didn't want to be nurses, and they didn't want to have to take care of black people, right? Yes. So they came, and now they're the RNs. Now they wanted us to train them. They wanted to pay them all of this money, and then they wanted us to be, oh, y'all are, I forget what they called us, right? But we couldn't have been all that to me if we were the ones who was going to be training the ones who came in now with degrees. And thank God a lot more black young women and men went to be RNs and work in the nursing field. So I staged a walkout, right? Nobody knew who it was. We was the ones who told on me. Valine did it. I was called down to the office. Yes. You know, but I didn't care because I wasn't afraid. But we're still, and it's hard. There's some things that happen in our community that make it hard for us to get the respect and to get that place with other people. Can we talk about some of that? And your advice to us as a new generation?
You know, the thing about that, Val, is we have to first respect ourselves. Back in the day, the churches led us. The churches were the cornerstones of the black community. About 1980, things started changing because I believe that Washington interceded, and they made it known to a lot of these huge black church leaders, listen, don't mix politics with religion, because if you do, all of that money you bring in, we're going to make certain that it was for the right purpose. And if we find that it wasn't, we're going to jail you and close your church. So in the 80s, the folk who used to lead us, these pastors, these ministers, they stopped doing it because they understood that what this white establishment could do and would do to them. And the other thing,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Today, we probably shoot and kill. When I say we, I'm talking about younger black men. We probably shoot and kill 7,000 of our own each year. Those 7,000 young people used to be the ones that were the foot soldiers for Malcolm's people and for Martin's people. They were the fighters. I was one of them. But we don't understand that now, and we shoot and kill each other. And these folk, these white folks, these KKK people, this president, they sit back and they laugh because they feel we're doing their job for them.
You know, some of this stuff is just too real in my world. I was talking to this young man in jail yesterday. I'm working back in the jail sometimes. And I was like, it's not too late to make your mama proud. He said, my mom is not proud of me right now. I said, but it's still not too late. You can do something wonderful. Nola Reed said we need to bring back shame in our community. A lot of foolishness that's being accepted now would never have been in the day. Okay, Mr. Doug, you want to address Nola? You want me to
Yes.
read it again?
Yes, please.
Can we bring it up, Kenzie? Are you paying attention? No, she's not. We need to bring back shame in our community. A lot of foolishness that's being accepted now would have never been accepted previously.
The difference is, back in the day, we had two parents. That's not done today. These folk led us to believe that we don't need a man in the house. This place has made us believe that it's all right to be by yourself. Now, a woman, a young lady, and I say this, I was a foster kid. A lady can raise a boy until he's 16 or 17. She can give him all the things, education that he needs. But the black manhood is very different. When you become a man and you're black, you better know how to handle yourself physically and otherwise. Because if you do not, you're going to run into problems out here. And that's the difference in how it is today and what it used to be when there were two parents in the home.
I was in a one-parent home. My dad was the parent. But back in the day, we also had the hood. Because look, Miss Mary would be waiting on that. I love Miss Mary, still talk to her kids. But the neighbors, I mean, you know, like that's why it was called the hood.
Yes.
That, and you know, that's where that character comes from. But dear, look, they didn't play in the neighborhood.
Yes.
And we, how do you think it's even possible for us to undo some of this and redo?
Let me say this. On my Facebook, it says, any people held in slavery for even 1 minute should take 100 years to study why that happened, so it'll never happen again. We didn't do that. We came literally out of a mixed community in the 70s where we had no freedom, or we had little freedom, into the 70s where we were now black and we were proud. But you have to teach people what being proud is. Many of these young people today, they'll never know who their grandmother is, their grandfather is, on the father's side, or even on the mother's side. We had community back then. We may not have had a lot of money, but we had one another. That's not going on today, I think I can say.
Nola has a comment. Men stayed back in the day. It's not all on women saying or thinking they don't need a man. When are men going to hold men accountable, sir?
Okay. Let me say this to you. Back in the year 7, it's not about woman and man. Back in the year 1710, a plantation owner from the Caribbean came to this country, came to Jamestown, Virginia, and he met with the plantation owners, and this is what he told them. He said, I'm going to teach you how to keep these Africans enslaved for 300 years. He said, the first thing you need to do is get rid of the studs. Either You could sell them in slavery or kill them. Get rid of them. We're going to make the mother the head of the house. And that's what they did. They made the woman the head of the house to disrespect the man. And that's what happened. And it simply just came on throughout the years. There was a time when I was growing up that a black man couldn't go to the white guy and say, hey, listen, I need something. I need this. Can you loan me that? The wife went. And the wife went because they did not respect the black men. So it's not something that women did. Please don't misunderstand me. It is what they instilled in us all of those years ago, and it's playing out today.
And I can understand that. But when I was coming up in the 70s, 60s, dad was a single parent. You know, I had women in my life. I had my nanny, my aunt, who was a big part of my life, Miss Mary, who was a big part of my life. My big sister, who had to become a mother at a very young age. She still mothers me, I tell you. But anyway, family was family, hood was hood. You know, hood. I just would do anything to get the hood back, because Miss Mary, she sold suppers and had car parties. Mr. Alvin was doing seafood. He would sell crabs and seafood in the neighborhood. Everybody did something, and the neighborhood was really our own finance. My daddy had a cleaners. He had a job, but he had a cleaners. My Barbara said, oh my goodness, it's playing out today. And I want to say that in the middle of what I'm saying, because that was in reference to what you said. And it is playing out today.
Yes.
But when we were focused on a real future and a real building, you know, the Blairs had a grocery store. Mr. Polk, he was a pharmacist, one of the few black pharmacists in New Orleans. But black people went from all over to go back there by the Desire Project to get their medication, because he was the black pharmacist. And then finally they got one on Galvez Street. But we stuck together as a community. We supported each other in business. You know, we made sure each other ate. And that money went around in our community. But now we only want something with somebody else's name on it.
Yes. That makes us hip. That makes us popular. And sadly enough, 97% of that $2 trillion that we as consumers spend goes into the white community. Back in the day, we owned the various things, like you're talking about your dad. We own restaurants and cleaners. Today, 3% of the money we spend go to black ownership. It's easier, apparently, for us to go to the white people. So we want to always condemn them for what we don't do or what we don't have. We need to look in the mirror. We're grown people. We need to look in the mirror and fix our own problems. As long as we allow these people to own us, we're going to always feel like we're second-class people. It's on us.
And I know you promised me 30 minutes, but I want to talk about this. I want to talk about right now. We are not really aware. You, as being a military man, you have a very strong history in military, a very strong history in history of, you know, you just bear knowledgeable wisdom. What do you think the intentions, the real intentions of this administration is to this nation? Because we're ignoring it. And I have some ideas, but I'm trying to bring it together for myself. And I don't know how other people feel. But by you having been in war, um, and taught men to fight war military, what do you think is his is the real intention? And is this man standing alone?
Okay.
1 minute before we address that, can we go back? We have a gentleman saying women had no rights from the beginning. Yes. Until the late 1970s, especially the black women in particularly. It's not about man and woman. It's about respecting and appreciating each other as humans. I think he was in agreement with you.
Now, let me say this. Back in the late 70s, I met with a group of people in Newark, New Jersey. There were questions about the white section in Newark, the fact that they didn't allow, it appeared that they didn't allow black folk in there. So the question was, well, these white people are doing this, and these white people are doing that. And my answer, and this is back in the 70s, is stop talking about these people. Our problem is us. Until we as men and women can come together and understand one another, we're not going to be able to do anything. But to get back to what you were talking about, this president, his father, his mother, and his grandfather were members of the Klan, and that was in New York City. That was in New York City. When I got drafted for Vietnam, this same president was allowed 4 deferments not to go in. But not only was he allowed, Clinton didn't go, Bush didn't go, because they had that white privilege. And when you look into the selling of weapons in this country has more weapons sold to households than many countries have in their war arsenal. And that part and parcel is to us. They are so afraid of what black people might do because they've been sold that idea all of their lives. Watch out for the black man. He wants a black woman. Watch out, this black man, they have tails between their legs. And these folk have treated us so badly over the centuries that they are, in fact, afraid of us. Because they know one day we're going to retaliate. And they don't want that.
Well, I think that day has come. And I'm not sure that we'll win. I was reading an article today about the weapons that the people have on the street, and they don't know where they came from. Yes. And the article is like, what's going to happen now? And Saturday, the president, he came on and said, if any of y'all protest against my parade, this is what's going to happen. Well, people ready for Saturday and parade and protest. They're going to protest you in your parade all over the nation. Yes. So we have declared war on ourselves.
Well, the bloodiest war this country has ever been involved in was called Civil War. It was about slavery. So this country has no problem. In that war, 600,000 men, mostly white, were killed. They don't have a problem with that. Now, what they did back then is they then opened the gates for Eastern Europeans, Italians, Irish, who they frowned upon before, to come into this country so that the white population would grow. But this is my only problem with going to war. We are not prepared for it, not mentally and not physically. I was a soldier for 20 years. And if you're not prepared, if you're not trained for war, you're not going to last long. And I put nothing, these guys, like this president, he will set up stuff to make it appear that these folk who are against him started this whole thing. That's the kind of person he is.
So I just want to say this. If I go to jail Saturday, would you bail me out? You're going to leave me to stay in jail? Hello?
You with me?
Yes.
Yes.
You're going to leave me to stay in jail?
I always had a question about our people who in sports, entertainment, and manufacturing that are millionaires, multimillionaires. I always had a question about them not doing more for our hood. And what I found out over the years is that so many of these people were put in place to receive money, whether they were talented or not. But in doing that, they also signed a clause that said, don't you get involved in these Black communities and try to help them. If you do, we got something for you. So we see people like P. Diddy, we see R. Kelly, we see folk who are what we used to call Negro rich. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't have the power. These white folks have the power. And they turn it on every time they want to do it to us.
But they didn't win in the Civil War. I mean, for the civil rights, not Civil War or civil rights. We didn't really get integration, because what they tried to do was butter us down to be subservient and act like them, to say we were accepted, and a lot of people fell for it. But we did get to go. We did win some things. We didn't lose totally. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, this is what happened back then. This is what happened back then. Two men ran for the presidency. One from New York, he was a Democrat. One from Ohio, he was a Republican. At the end of the election, the Democrat had won the popular vote. The Republican had won the electoral vote. They could not make a decision as to who this president would be. So they both sat down and they said, this is what we can do. We can elect Rutherford B. Hayes, who was a Republican, to the office of president. But in doing that, he must promise to give the southern states what is called states' rights, which means they can do anything they want. And what they did, they brought slavery back to the South. And that's what happened with that situation there.
So what year was that?
That was 1880. You're going to look at 1876,
And that's,
or you're going to look at 1880.
That answers a question for me. And the question was, for the plantation that burned down in Louisiana last month. How could it be only 166 years old? That answers my question. Because if the plantation burned down, it was 166 years old. Yes. The oldest slave that was alive, that just had passed her birthday, was 111. I said, how is that so? How is that so that the plantation was only 166 years old? And on my post, I said, so slavery wasn't as long ago as we thought it was. Okay, all right, I can receive that.
Okay, my grandfather and my grandmother, Joe Hodge and Pearlie Hodge, they were the first descendants of free black people. They were both born in 1880. Mm-hmm. They were the first children after the Civil War. But what we must know, what we must always know, is that these folk run this country. And there's nothing that they have ever did. Well, no, I can't say that they have either. But there's nothing that they wouldn't do to stay in power. Nothing.
So let's go back to this, because okay, I gotta think about the gave them back slavery, because right now they're fighting right now for states' rights. Yes. So that's gonna make me go back and study that, because now they want to take away state rights because okay.
Because Val, I promise you, if they were granted states' rights, much of what we saw 150 years ago, not even that far, 80 years ago, would be in place if they had states' rights. This guy Trump is the kind of guy that would allow that to happen.
So let me ask you this. I believe that we won the civil rights movement in the war. Yeah, our leader did get killed. 4 of them we've named tonight. But we won. But what did we really get, and what did we really lose?
Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King and then President LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, they didn't care for each other at all. Now, this was the time that I was in the military during Vietnam. So when they started protesting in this country about Vietnam, Dr. King initiated that. So Johnson sent one of his people to Martin and said, I need to sit down with you. So when they sat down, this president said to him, on one hand, we had the civil rights movement, and now you want to head up this Vietnam thing. I need your help. We can't do both. We can't do Vietnam. So King told him, okay, we don't have to do it, but this is what you're going to do. You're going to give my people in the South the right to vote. We're going to have open housing. We're going to have open employment. And all of those things were said and done in 1965, and they signed it. But again, I say, you can't just be free after 2 days. You have to learn what freedom is and how to handle freedom. And so many people never understood that. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, which Connecticut today is about 8% black. Back then it was probably 5% black. But the advantage that it gave to me is that I was able to go to school with these Jewish people, Italian people, Irish people, and everybody else that was white. I learned that this guy didn't like that guy, and she didn't like him because he was Jewish. And so it made me understand that all these white folks were not together. And I understood that. When I got out into the world, I just used my understanding of these people. And I dealt with them accordingly. So there's a lot to be said, a lot to be done, and a lot to understand. Everything we see, or everything literally that became invention in this country 200 years ago came from Africa. There is only one DNA in the world. One. Whether you're white, Asian, Polish, the only DNA there is started in Africa. 100 years from now, when these historians can really sit down and write about true history, we're going to find out that all these folk we now call white, they're not a new race. Everything just emulated from Africa over these hundreds of thousands of years. We're going to find that out. That word white was never used. When it was used before, it was to identify somebody. They said, where's white Mike at? Where's black Smitty at? But they were not colors of people. They were not what they called people. They was just how the people looked. It wasn't until these people came here from Europe, and in 1681, they decided we're going to call ourselves white, and we're going to be superior to anything that's not white. That's how all this stuff came about.
Okay, so we cannot hang up. I know we way past your time, but we cannot hang up without you telling us what do we need to know about freedom in order to gain it? What is it that we're missing knowing about what true freedom is?
True freedom is only one place. That's in the mind. That's in the mind. When we feel that we have to have a Mercedes, a mink coat, a 30,000 square foot house to be somebody, is fool's gold. Our freedom is in our minds. How we see things in our mind will let us know who we really are. If we are concerned because somebody said something about us, if we are concerned that somebody makes more money than we do, then we'll never have freedom. Freedom ain't something you can buy. Freedom is in your mind and in your heart.
All right, we just want to thank you for being with us. This has been a blessing for me, and I'm sure it was for my audience. I'll hear from them later. But thank you so much for taking this hour out with us and just sharing, giving us some wisdom that'll join generations that have been separated for so long. Thank you so much, Mr. Dove.
Val, to you and your audience, it was definitely my pleasure. And hopefully I'll see you again.
Thank you.
All right now. Good
We'll
night.
be looking